Hey, my name is Mike, if you don't know it already, and I'm going to walk us through the seller disclosure that you have just received, just to make sure that you fully understand every component of it. It's super crucial, and that's why it says do not sign before reading, because you need to make sure that there is total understanding on all these points, because they are so important to this type of transaction. So, number one, bankruptcy status. I affirm that to the best of my knowledge and belief, there are no pending bankruptcy proceedings related to the property, and I am not contemplating filing for bankruptcy that would affect the property. Seems that's pretty straightforward. Number two, bankruptcy future. I agree that should I move to file bankruptcy in the future, I will not include the property and will consult with buyer prior to filing. So essentially, yes, if you are into a situation in the future, and at any point in the future, and you look to put you need to file bankruptcy, the property that we are talking about right now cannot be a part of that. And you need to be connecting with me, because I can help you walk through how we do that, and also submit documents to whatever bankruptcy attorney that you're working with, just to show like, hey, this is not an asset that is in my hands anymore. So that's how I have to go. Long story short is, in the future, if bankruptcy is necessary for you in your life situation, I need to be contacted so that I can help, essentially. Okay, some very important things here. Existing mortgage. It says, I affirm, saying you affirm that you fully understand that my loan is not being fully paid off and the buyer is only taking over the payments. I understand that the mortgage and the debt it represents will remain in my name and on my credit. So this is, if you haven't heard of this thus far, if we haven't explained this thus far, this is what you call a subject to transaction. Unbelievably common. I would encourage you to Google it, YouTube it, if you would like, to better understand it and to know how notorious it is in today's market. But essentially, the nature of a subject to transaction is that I am purchasing the property from you subject to the existing mortgage that we're not doing anything with. We're not touching it. It remains as is. A lot of times a mortgage is in default, and so I have to pay a reinstatement fee to get the mortgage restarted. But then I am taking over the payments. So therefore, the debt will remain in your name. The credit will reflect that as well, which actually is a good thing, because it starts to turn your credit around in a lot of situations where you were entering foreclosure. It's a lot of people that I deal with. They were entering foreclosure, and so their credit was taking a massive hit. Well, I come in and I reinstate the loan, and then I'm making positive payments every single month on time. That positive pay history goes on your credit, not mine. So you get the benefit of that. And then later on in the future, your credit is rebuilt into a place where you can go and buy something again. A lot of people will go, okay, well, if the debt's going to be in my name, well, then I go to buy another property later on in the future. What's going to happen? It's a great question. At least 2 years will have to pass before you can go. And by the way, if you were to have an actual foreclosure, there'd be 7 or 8 years before you'd be able to purchase anything again on a loan, because most banks just aren't going to trust that, and it's going to be on your credit. In this case, you're looking around 2, maybe a little bit more years before you can really go to a bank and say, hey, I'm looking for a new loan. What will happen, and I know this is kind of belaboring the point here, but I'm just trying to answer as many questions as possible. What will happen is you'll reach out to me, and I'll provide documents that show that your loan has been serviced by me, and you'll go, and here's the other thing, it has to be a different bank. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. You can't go to the same bank. It has to be a different bank that you would go to get a new loan. Let me continue. I would provide documentation that shows I have been paying on your mortgage, not you. I've been the one liable for it. You'll provide that documentation to the new bank that you're going to get a loan through, and that is typically what satisfies them. So they go, okay, so this is being handled by somebody else. Let's move forward with the loan. So that is kind of the only question I usually get about that number 3, about the existing mortgage. But yeah, that has to be understood. There was one person, I've done 20 of these thus far, and there was one person that had, they signed the contract, which this shows all the stuff in the contract, and they go, I thought you were paying off the loan. I'm like, it says in the contract like 16 times that we're not doing that. So that's why I made this document, just to make sure these are all things that are already in the contract, but just to really hammer down on, here are the things that I really need you to understand and make sure that you know what we're doing here. Number 4, the due on sale risk. I understand that should the bank discover that title has transferred, they may call the note due / accelerate the loan, less than a 1% chance risk, should this occur. Should this occur, I will comply with the buyer to rearrange the paperwork into a land contract, executory contract that satisfies the bank. Okay, so and if you go Googling or YouTubing this, you'll hear about this, that this is a risk, or it's just a possible problem down the road. It's called the due on sale clause. Almost every single mortgage has it in their documents that if the title transfers hands, if the deed of the house transfers hands, then they don't always, but they can, if they find out about it, only if they find out about it, they can accelerate the loan or call it due, hence the due on sale clause. What that essentially means is they would send a letter that says, hey, we found out that the title changed hands, and you now owe us the full balance of this loan. Okay, well, that means you have to go to another bank and try to get a loan for that to pay that off. The only time that the due on sale is called is when the seller, yourself in your position, expressly tells the bank, hey, I sold the property. And that is why in my contract, I put in there a note, and this is number 5, the no contact with bank or insurance part of my contract. So when you sign my contract, you are signing off that you are absolutely essentially banned from talking to that other bank. Just because you may say something that may slip up a little bit and lead them on to a thing where they're going to now go on a wild goose chase and try to figure out, well, what happened here? And then they're going to go, oh, it transferred hands. Oh, we want to call our note due. That is the only time that this happens. And so that is why we have just said, hey, you know what? We're just going to say, hey, seller, if you want to do business with us, we take over from here. We are the ones contacting the bank. We're the ones talking with the bank. If you ever get contacted by the bank, you just tell them, hey, talk to Haven, talk to Mike. He's my property manager. They'll if they ask you if you sold the property, you'll say, yeah, I do. We haven't changed the title. But that is how this has to go. It's kind of a weird in between type of thing. I totally get that. But the bank is typically they're not in the real estate business. They just want to get their loans paid. But if they do explicitly find out about it, they don't always, but they can call the note due. So this is just saying that you understand that is a risk, and it's very seldom that would ever occur. And it would really only occur if the seller doesn't do what they're supposed to do and just not have any contact with the bank. So that is what number 4 is. Number 5 is kind of what we're talking about, no contact with the bank and insurance. I affirm that I fully understand that I am not to contact the bank or the insurance company for any reason, and that any and all communication to the bank or insurance company must go through the buyer, me. I understand that should I breach this contract in this manner, I may be subject to monetary fines and lawsuits for damages as listed in the above contract. It's all listed in there. Additionally, any phone calls or emails or mail that I receive, that you would receive from the bank or insurance company, will be sent directly to me. So yes, as you read in there could be fines associated with that. And again, this is just us trying to protect the whole structure of the deal. And like I said, the only thing that could blow this thing up, and even if that happens, it's not the end of the world, but it does cost us money, because we have to go through another closing. We have to go through attorneys to redo the paperwork. It's a whole headache. It's not the end of the world, but it is just a headache on our part. And so we go, hey, listen, if we find out that this happened because our seller didn't do what we told them to do, and they went and told the bank that they, whatever, yeah, I mean, that's going to cost us all kinds of money. So we're going to have to sue. And I would never want to have to do that. But we kind of put that in there as a guardrail, just so that, sellers, yourself, and other sellers that we deal with, just have a very good understanding of how this works and what they are and are not to do. As simple as that. So, If you do exactly as we're saying here, everything's fine. This whole thing goes without hiccups. You've sold your house. You get the positive pay history on your credit. There's so many advantages to this whole thing, but it just has to be done the right way. And I just try to do my best to get you as a seller. This is a video, by the way, that's going to be viewed by lots of other people. So I'm not talking to you specifically, you, but any seller. I just want to do my best to make you fully aware of what this is, make you fully aware of what we expect of you. And that's it. So if you have any questions about this whatsoever, please ask. The worst thing that could happen is that you just sign off and you don't understand something. I want you to understand every single component of this. Okay? Thanks for watching.